As we reflect on what makes America such a powerful force,
I hereby declare on oath,
we're reminded that we're a nation built by immigrants. So why is it so hard to fix our immigration system? Well, late last week, we spoke with two members of Congress who both came to the U.S. as young children. Here's our conversation with Florida Republican Carlos Gimenez and New York Democrat Adriano Espaillat. Congressman Gimenez, you were almost 7 years old when your family fled from Cuba at the start of the Castro regime. What do you remember about those early days in Florida?
Well, I remember that we all went to one house. My uncle, my aunt were kind enough to take us in. There were about 21 people in that house. And I remember vividly my first day going to school. The day before, I went to they took me to a parochial school. And then the nun saying that tomorrow was my first day of school. That was my first word in English. Until then, I only spoke Spanish, and so that I vividly remember. And then the early days there, it's like a blur, obviously, you know. But yeah, it was completely different than my experiences had been in Cuba.
And Congressman Espaillat, as I understand it, you were about 9 when you came to the United States from the Dominican Republic. I imagine New York City was a bit different back then.
Of course, the weather was cold, obviously. I remember the cold weather. We lived with our grandparents who had a 4.5 bedroom apartment in Washington Heights. And we got there in December. And of course, we went to school. Remember sitting in the back of the classroom and for a year or more, not knowing really a word of English, but surely and slowly we acclimated, and here we are.
Do either of you remember your parents ever explaining why they wanted to become Americans?
My grandmother was the first one to become a U.S. citizen, and she was so proud of it. And I remember that she spoke about it, about how great this nation is and how it gave us a new opportunity of moving forward. But she was really proud of becoming an American citizen, and I think it translated then back down to all of us.
My parents were seeking freedom, not only for themselves, but for us, his children, my sister and I, to give us the opportunity to live in a land of freedom. I recall one day I asked him, hey, why is it that we came to the United States, a little bit older, and he told me a story about how I had come home, and I'd asked him a question, and to him, it felt like we were being indoctrinated, into communism, and he decided right then and there that we had to leave.
Both of you represent areas where there are many people under temporary protected status, but the Supreme Court in recent days ruled that about 356,000 or so people from Haiti and Syria are going to lose their TPS. And that decision, of course, follows the Trump administration's decision to cancel their temporary legal protection. This issue is perhaps most acute in South Florida, given the Haitian community, Congressman Gimenez. I'm curious, what should the Secretary do? What should the administration do now with these hundreds of thousands of people?
In the case of Haiti, without a doubt, Haiti is a failed state, and I think that deporting Haitians that are under TPS right now back to Haiti would be a huge mistake. I mean, that's the reason why TPS was established to begin with. Just like with Venezuelans, if Venezuelans lose their TPS status, which they have too, we should reinstate that because of the devastation caused by these earthquakes that happened last week. And so, TPS should not be abused. TPS is what it says, temporary protective status. And if you're here for a number of years, you should change your status from TPS to something else. But by the same token, it is meant to safeguard those that are fleeing countries which are either failed states and there would be at risk of going back to them, or countries that really can't handle them right now, as the case of Venezuela.
What might be the easiest, fastest bipartisan fix Congress could make to deal with immigration?
I believe very strongly that it should be bipartisan. And of course, there are 3 particular items that I think are easy to fix. Dreamers is one of them. These are young people that came here when they were 1, 2 years old. Many of them don't speak the language of their homeland or have no connections whatsoever with the country where they were born. Yet they're Americans, but for one thing, their green card. It's a fixed number of them. Most people agree that they should be let in. They should be allowed to stay here. So regularizing them is one. Farm workers, many of whom are not going to the fields to work because they're afraid they're going to be arrested and deported. We need them. And then keeping families together is important, because a family that's divided, that's fractured, is a weak family, and many weak families make up a weak nation.
Congressman Gimenez, any of those on your list?
Look, I agree with a lot of what the congressman has said. The problem of immigration got exacerbated because the open borders that we had during the Biden years, and you had millions and millions of people coming into the United States, and it really drove the issue of immigration, home. And I thought we were getting closer to some kind of a solution until that happened. The borders are now closed, and I've always said that once you secure the borders, then we can have an honest debate about the people that are here, the immigrants that are here, those are undocumented. And I think that we can reach a solution. And those that have been here for years, that have been working, are part of the community, that are part of the economy, we need to find a way to normalize them. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be citizens at the end of the day, but to normalize them so that they can come out of the shadows, pay taxes, and then live their life without having fear of somebody coming up and taking them away after 20-something years, and separating from their children that they've had during that time. And so we have to find a solution. I think that the solution could be bipartisan, but it also seems when the Democrats were in control, it didn't happen. When we were in control, it didn't happen. It's got to happen.
What is your message to someone, perhaps Congressman Gimenez, that is on the outside looking in, who might want to come to the United States and build a better life? What would be your message to them?
My message is to do it the right way, and then you will be welcomed with open arms. There's a lot of skills that we need here still in the United States, even though we want to make sure that Americans get those jobs, but sometimes you do need skills from outside. And by the way, it's not a bad thing to get new ideas, new perspectives coming into the United States from all around the world, because that's what makes America the greatest country in the world.
And Congressman Espaillat?
This nation, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary, still has promise, and I think immigration has been a central part of our ability to move forward as a nation. So I ask those that want to come to our nation that bring your ideas, bring your innovativeness, bring your talents, bring your energy, the energy that has displayed itself throughout decades and throughout our history. There's been no period in American history that has not been pushed by immigration forward. Even in our most difficult times, it is the influx of new ideas and new energy that makes our country different. And of course, this is a great experiment, and everybody wants to come to America. Do it the right way. There are channels through which you can do it. We will continue to welcome people from all over the world. This is a nation that still has a lot to offer. It's still relatively a very young nation, and one that I think has a lot of promise towards the future. I'm happy that my parents, my grandparents, who were both factory workers, brought us here to America. What a great promise, what a great nation.